Well, here we are, the French Open draw. I have it right here, the Roland Garros 2021 edition. This is it, and it feels like the biggest tournament in a long, long time. Now, last year, feels like we were just at the French Open, right? Last year, they pushed it all the way back to like October, or whenever it was, and the big question was, can Rafa tie Roger at 20 majors? And he did it. Then at the Aussie, the big question was, could Rafa somehow win the Australian Open, get to 21, and let's just assume he'll win the French, get to 22. That would put him pretty much out of reach. So Rafa didn't win, of course, at the Australian Open. But now we're at the French Open, and he has a real chance, his best chance ever, to get ahead in the slam count, to be the all-time record holder in men's tennis, to get to 21 majors. This is a really big deal, and it's so exciting to have a draw, which is a crazy draw, because the big three, for the first time ever, are all in the same half of the draw. The first quarter is the Djokovic quarter, but it's got Federer in it. So we can see a quarterfinal with Djokovic and Roger Federer. The good news for tennis fans here is, there's not a lot of scary players in this section, so you could actually see Federer and Djokovic playing, even though I'm sure a lot of people are not too high on Federer's ability to win 4 matches, best of 5 right now. Of course, you got to give the guy a chance. And then below that is the Rafa quarter of 32. So we're in this top half of the draw, the big three for the first time ever. It's amazing. And then to me, what's very interesting is that the third quarter, you have some hopefuls that really maybe don't deserve what Tsitsipas got. Right? Tsitsipas looks like the heir apparent on clay. I know Dominic Thiem is the prince of clay and all, but we know where he is right now mentally. He's definitely not a favorite to win the French. If he gets going, we'll give him a shot. But Tsitsipas, a lot of people think he's going to win the French at some point in his career, and maybe he could be the one that stops Rafa from taking this record. It could be Steph Tsitsipas here, and I think it's appropriate since Tsitsipas has been, as they say, the in-form player on clay this whole clay season. I think it's nice that he got his own quarter, right? He's on the bottom quarter with Medvedev, which we know Medvedev has never won at the French Open in 4 previous tries here and has a fairly tough first round. A lot of guys have a fairly tough first round. It's going to be very interesting to go through this draw, and I'm very excited. But before we go any further, I just have to tell you that something has happened to me. Going back to Barcelona, we're so used to seeing Rafa dominate on the clay, every clay court tournament he plays. But watching him fight his way last year to win the French, and obviously he didn't drop a set, but going into the French, there was some doubt about the conditions, about where Rafa is. Rafa didn't play the U.S. Open with all the COVID restrictions. There were some doubts, and Rafa, he fought it off, and he won straight sets, 7 matches in a row, including throwing a bagel down on Novak Djokovic in the final. This year, though, it felt even tougher going in because Rafa started having unexpected loss. He lost to Rublev right away at Monte Carlo. He was struggling against almost every person he played. No easy matches, especially in Barcelona. But he ended up beating Tsitsipas in the final, saves a match point, and I think he won a lot of people over, including myself. I've been very inspired by Rafa's run in Barcelona, just seeing the way he's conducted himself throughout this whole clay court season. And to many people's surprise, I'm going to let you know that not only am I picking, I'm going to pick. Normally in a draw show, we don't do this. I'm going to tell you the pick right away. I'm going to go with Rafa, taking 21. Of course, a slight caveat to that, a caveat. I'll give Roger a chance to tie him right back at Wimbledon. Give him a good chance after I see Roger play on some grass. But not only am I picking Rafa to win the French Open this year, I'm hoping that Rafa wins the French Open this year.
I fell in love con Rafa en Barcelona. Mi corazón es solamente por Rafa. Tú sabes, mi amor es Rafa Nadal. In Barcelona is where I fell in love. Tsitsipas made improvements on the backhand. He withstood Rafa's forehand for a set. I used to love his long, luscious locks of hair. It wouldn't last because now I am in love with Rafa. Quiero leer tus libros, Rafa Nadal. Tocar la guitarra por Rafa en Barcelona. Quiero cantar for Rafa, yes I want to. Si es verdad, I fell in love with Rafa. He fell in love with Rafa, yes he did. Solamente for Rafa es el corazón, corazón, corazón. Con Rafa, mi amore, I fell in love solamente con Rafa.
With that said, if Rafa and Roger meet in the semifinals, I will predict a win for Roger Federer. Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis. This is an exciting day. Of course, I've already told you how this is the most important tennis tournament in history, practically. We've got a cracker of a draw. I think that's a good thing, right? In Australia, it means a good thing, doesn't it? We've got a real cracker of a draw. We've got a cracker of a show for you today. We've got doubles players and singles players ranked under 71 in the world are, well, Jamie Murray said that it's an absolute toilet where they're having to stay, and they're having to subsist on, you know, those free breakfasts you get to eat, the breakfast that you don't want to eat because it's not good food. That's what they have to eat if you play doubles or you're ranked under 71 in singles. We got what Rafa's talking about going into the French, a little bit of what Djokovic is saying. Take a look at this. Djokovic smashing a racket today. That's not the kind of prep you want for the French Open. We'll take a look at that. Some stuff from Mats Wilander. Good points I think he has made. A little negative towards Rafa, a little positive towards Steph Tsitsipas. Fair, I would say, his analysis, although I still say Rafa wins despite all, just like he did in Barcelona. Ivanisevic with a little insight into a younger Djokovic, which I think helps us understand why Djokovic is still smashing rackets, is yelling when he's winning a match against somebody who's ranked outside of the top 100, why he was getting so fired up playing a guy outside of the top 200, outside of top 200 earlier in the week. That's about all we have, but with a draw at a major, you really don't need much more. So let's go right into it. Do I have the Rafa quarter here? Let's start with the Djokovic quarter up top on the screen, please. Yes. All right. Maybe the easiest out of everyone getting started. Tennis Sandgren, spelt with a Y, not an I. Novak Djokovic will go up against the Sandman first. I don't expect any serious problems there. Maybe he'll smash a racket, Djokovic, but he will not lose. Then he would get either Luca Pouille or Pablo Cuevas, good player on clay. Don't really see any problems there. Most people who hate Djokovic out there are really upset that his draw is too easy. Ugo Humbert, he's a little bit dangerous. I don't think he is right now to Djokovic, but it's probably the toughest player. As you can see, they broke down the quarters into quarters, right? So we have quarters of 8 players here. 8 plus 16 plus another 16 is 32. 32 times 4 is 128. That's how we get there. Let's look. The winner of this Djokovic quadrant here in the top quarter of the draw will get the winner of this second quadrant. Of course, De Minaur and Travaglia, Italian player, he had a pretty decent win earlier in the year. I want to say on clay. Can't remember where it was. I might even be thinking of last year, too, since the clay was so recent. It really doesn't matter who comes out of there. Cecchinato, Uchiyama. Cecchinato, of course, beat, I think, 2018. He beat Djokovic at the French Open. And the qualifier also has some history beating Djokovic in the last 4 years. The qualifier that Federer has drawn first. We'll wait till we get to there. Tsonga, if you watched him lately, there's nothing like his old self. Just looks slower and older. He's still hitting a pretty big ball. I'd give him a shot, but most likely you go with Nishioka to come out of there. David Goffin and Musetti, who was going to blow us all away on the clay. He's had some good wins on the clay, but he's had some losses where you think, somewhat surprising losses, I guess you would say. But how can you be surprised with a new player who just breaks onto the scene like Musetti did? Anyways, I'd give Musetti a good shot, though, to take out David Goffin. And I'd give him a good shot to come out of that section and lose to Djokovic. And what would that be? That would be the round of 32, I guess. Or would that be round of 16? Yeah, that would be round of 16. All right, so the winner of those 16 players to come out will probably be Djokovic, of course. And don't really see a dangerous name in here that could scare the heck out of Djokovic. Maybe Musetti and Humbert could give him some trouble. Don't think the Sandman is going to do it in the first round. Then we look at these other quadrants, 3 and 4 of the top quarter of the Roland Garros draw. Berrettini is probably the most dangerous player in this whole thing, aside from Federer and Djokovic. I like him to beat Taro Daniel. I like him to beat Coria or Lopez, who Coria just got beat pretty bad by Djokovic yesterday. Kevin Anderson, not expecting too much from him. Seppi, Kwan, Aliassime, same there. Aliassime, maybe he could get things going here. He'll probably lose to Berrettini. Of course, I'd give Aliassime, Auger, I'd give Felix a chance against Berrettini, but probably not. Probably not happening. And then finally, this bottom quadrant of the top quarter. Please don't get confused by all the quarters and quadrants and keywords that I'm saying. Fritz, Souza, Borgay, never heard of him. Dominic Koepfer. Okay, he's a little bit dangerous on clay. We'll give Koepfer a shot. He can, if he has a great day. Cilic, we all know where Cilic has been the last few years. Rinderknecht, this is the guy who beat Jannik Sinner very recently. And that was a match, where some people would have said, oh, what's up with Sinner? If you watch that match, Rinderknecht, he's actually French. It looks like a German. Like in German, I think it would be like Rinderknecht. Anyways, it looks like a German name. He's a French guy. Big game, was playing really big against Sinner and kind of fearless and really went for his shots and was able to pull it off. Sinner actually played pretty well. So Rinderknecht, I could see him coming through Cilic, unless that was just some kind of fluke match that I saw him playing in earlier. It was only like a week or two ago. The winner of that will get Federer or the guy who beat Djokovic at the Australian Open in the second round, 2017, and hasn't really done anything since then, Denis Istomin. Denis Istomin is not as good on clay, and, I'd say it's a pretty good draw for Federer. He did just qualify, meaning he had to win some quality rounds on the clay at the French. So that makes it a little tougher, right? He's a little more battle-hardened now. But I would expect Federer, even with any struggles he's been experiencing lately, to come through that one. And I'd say if it's Rinderknecht or Cilic, those guys play pretty big. That could be a little bit of danger for Federer. But the truth is, this is a section he should be able to come through. I would be the most afraid, if I was a Federer fan, in the early rounds. I would be most afraid of course, Berrettini. That would be the round of 16 match. He'd have to get through Berrettini or Aliassime, give him a shot to be there. Federer would have to get through, most likely, Berrettini to get to Djokovic. And I'd say either Koepfer, maybe Fritz, and Rinderknecht be probably the scariest ones there. Not too scary, right? All right, now Rafa. I printed out some stuff he said because he's talking about his first. Rafa's got the dirtiest, maybe Tsitsipas. I can't even remember who he's playing now, but I remember thinking, okay, those are tough first-round draws for these guys. So let's see. What did Rafa have to say regarding his first-round match, Alexei Popyrin? They're asking him about what if he has to play Federer or Djokovic, and he says, hey, right now, I got to play Alexei Popyrin. And that's where my mind is. My draw is hard enough to be thinking about anything else. I must continue. He's young. He has the power. He has the big shots. As always, I need to be ready for it. I need to keep practicing the next couple of days, try to be in the best shape possible. Every round is going to be tough. I always respect every opponent. I respect everyone since the beginning of my career. And let me tell you, Popyrin, and Rafa ain't lying here, he's a dangerous one. So I need to play well, and I'm looking forward to try to make that happen. So Popyrin is the first round draw. Now he did, some people out there might be saying, Rafa just beat him in a place where it should be harder to beat him, in Madrid, right? That helped Madrid's conditions, helped Popyrin kind of blow Jannik Sinner off the court. But here, you still got to give him a shot. He's dangerous. He's got the kind of power that could take the racket out of Rafa's hands, so to speak. Rafa, a big part of what he does on clay is he just terrorizes you on your serve, right? He's going to break you a lot. Popyrin's got the kind of game where he could go on a hot streak and be very difficult to beat. He's got the kind of serve. If Rafa gets through that, which of course I think he will, he could have Gaston. Remember this guy? Who did he give a really hard time at the French last year? Was it Dominic Thiem? Did he beat Dominic Thiem? Anyways, Gaston was the guy who hit like 1 million drop shots and is very fast. I watched him in Miami get destroyed by somebody. Not as impressive there, but on the clay, pretty good. He plays Gasquet, so 2 French guys. Rafa at the French Open, guaranteed a French opponent. That's nice. I don't think Rafa loses to Gaston, but he'll come through there. And Gaston, he didn't beat Dominic Thiem, did he? Dominic Thiem just got exhausted having to beat him in 5 sets and then lost his next match. I want to say something like that happened last year for Domi Thiem. Cam Norrie, I wanted to do a show earlier in this week, but I had to do a lot of stuff just to get ready to make this excellent draw show. And Cam Norrie was someone I wanted to mention, right? Casper Ruud and Cam Norrie are a couple players who we've known about Casper Ruud for a while, but Cam Norrie's been very good on clay. And Casper Ruud, remember Rafa almost lost to El Chapo, Denis Shapovalov. And some people said maybe this is going to inspire Shapo to play great, and he did. He went to Geneva, where everyone thought Federer would do a lot of winning there. He loses first round to Pablo Andujar. And Denis Shapo and Casper Ruud go all the way to final. And Shapo plays great. He's more consistent. All the things I've been critical about him over the years. I was having a lot of fun watching Shapo. And you start thinking, when you watch Shapo really playing well, you start thinking about when Federer was young and people said he's a wasted talent. And you think, well, maybe Shapo's not a wasted talent. He's Federer. He's the next Federer. He's just got to get it all together. He's got to put all the pieces together, and then he's going to be untouchable. Shapo was playing like that, where you kind of wonder, like, maybe Shapo's got a major upside that we're missing because of he hasn't been able to put it together at this young age yet. And then Casper Ruud, the way he beat Shapo, who was playing well, it really goes to show you how good Casper Ruud is on the clay. No surprise that Casper Ruud went on, and I think it's great that he's in that quarter with Thiem and Zverev, because he's in the third quarter here. We'll get to it in a second. Casper Ruud kind of, I think he could sneak that one away. He could come out of that quarter on top and be one of the 4 semifinals, right? One person will come out of each of these quarters, and that will be our final 4 in about a couple weeks' time from now. Anyways, so Cam Norrie's been very good. I would like him to come through here. Of course, he would have to beat Sonego. Also, Sonego was pretty good on clay, especially in Rome recently, you'll remember. Not expecting from Lloyd Harris too much right now. He's been injured since he did well on hard courts. Hasn't really had anything going on the clay. So you like Lorenzo Sonego from Italy coming through here, the 28th seed here. Maybe Cam Norrie, but probably Sonego. And again, Sonego, kind of like Popyrin, he's got the firepower in the game to where he could trouble Rafa. But if Rafa has it together, of course, he's probably going to win. Below that, the quadrant, Jannik Sinner is who I like, obviously, to come out of here. Monfils, who did he play and lose to a couple days ago? Some really entertaining point. Oh, it was Roberto. There he is again. Carballes Baena. I think his first name's Roberto. I can't remember. Anyways, Carballes Baena. I'm pretty sure that was the match we just saw with the wild rallies where he beat Monfils. They would play, most likely, if Monfils, tough draw for the Frenchman, having to play Ramos Vinolas, who's all, very good on clay, he's a veteran of the surface, gets all of his wins, that earns most of his money on the clay. I don't know if he comes through, but he could play Carballes Baena all over again. I like Jannik Sinner to come through this section. Maybe Ramos Vinolas, maybe Carballes Baena, but Jannik Sinner comes through here, plays Rafa. Can he challenge Rafa? I don't know. He was probably the biggest challenge to Rafa at the French last year. He won the most games of anyone who faced Rafa. in Rafa's 7 matches last year. So we will give him a shot. And, it's kind of a tough draw for Rafa so far, thinking you got to play this guy Popper in first. Sinner, who's got such a big ground game that he could really hang with Rafa, even on clay. A little bit of danger there. Let's go down below. Maybe things will get easier for our friend Rafa Nadal, who we love here at Coffee Break Tennis. Mr. Goat, actually, he wanted to reveal what I was up to himself. Take a look at this. Mr. Goat knocking the hat off, trying to spoil the surprise. Of course, I'm still a Federer fan. I put the Federer hat back on. It's half joking. It's one of those things you're half joking. Half of me is joking. The other half of me really admiring and appreciating Rafa more than I ever have before. All right, Diego Schwartzman probably comes through this section, but of course we got Aslan Karatsev, the breakout surprise star of the year. Very likable player. Best press conferences on tour. Best in on-court interviews. Cole Schreiber has been trying to fight his way back in against Verdasco. You got Manarino in there, who's not really been doing anything on clay. A qualifier in Brooksby. What was this guy's name? Jensen Brooksby, whatever he's called. A lot of people think this guy's pretty talented, exciting. I haven't seen much of him. He'll get Karatsev up first. I like Karatsev or Schwartzman to come through this section. Basilashvili has been looking better on clay. Dusan Lajovic, not looking good on clay. Before COVID, Dusan Lajovic looking like one of the best players on tour on the clay. Looking better in Serbia. Looking better, but he did lose. Who did he lose to? He lost to the guy that was giving Djokovic such a hard time when Djokovic smashed his racket today, Martin. For Dusan Lajovic, it's kind of a tough draw for both of those guys. Lajovic is starting to get it together. Basilashvili, same thing. He was in a slump, has been winning a lot, starting with beating Roger Federer, really, back in Doha. So it's kind of a tough draw for those guys to have to play each other, but I'd probably go with Basilashvili if I had to go with someone there. It's a tough call. Alcaraz came through qualifiers pretty easy, I understand. I haven't seen any of these qualifier matches, but it looks like Alcaraz did very well. So Carlos Alcaraz will get another qualifier, and a guy who's been doing pretty well on clay lately, in Zapata Morales. Got Bonsai, talented young French guy. Got a wild card. Jan-Lennard Struff, and then Rublev. Okay, Rublev's going to come through this section is what we will all say. So you got a possible like Karatsev, Rublev, round of 16, possible Sinner, Nadal, round of 16, and a quarterfinal here that could lead to a semifinal against Djokovic, maybe Federer. Probably crazy to say that. But Rafa coming through Rublev, most likely, I would say, in the quarters, would probably be the person who's there, but wouldn't be shocked to see Diego Schwartzman put it all together. And, of course, don't underestimate Aslan Karatsev. I don't think anyone really wants to play him. Now we go to the third quarter of this draw. I think it's appropriate that we have... Oh, and I see, just looking ahead, Tsitsipas has Jeremy Chardy. He's a Frenchman. He's a big hitter. He's the kind of guy who can be dangerous on a slower surface when you give him time. So not the easiest draw for both Rafa and Steph Tsitsipas. Of course, Jeremy Chardy, he's a French guy, so he's going to have a lot of support, you would think. But going to the third quarter, that's the fourth quarter. Let's go to the third quarter. Sasha Zverev will play Oscar the Otter. Remember Oscar Otta from a couple years ago, 2019? Roger played him. Beat him fairly easy, I want to say, wearing this very Uniqlo shirt when he played him. I remember watching Oscar Otta, and I want to say the big takeaway I took from him was that he was better off the backhand side than the forehand side, and that was one of the game plan things Federer would have to adjust for. And I want to say he was a fairly big server, but came through qualities. He's battle-hardened. I would expect Sasha Zverev to win that match. Pretty easy draw for Sasha so far. You got 3 potential qualifiers up first. Mute, Dan Evans might come through here. Kecmanovic hasn't been good lately. Give Mute a slight chance, I guess. Laszlo Djere has been good on clay in the past, I want to say. I don't know what he's been up to this year. I haven't seen him doing too much. Probably Dirty Dan Evans, who said Djokovic couldn't handle what he threw at him in Monte Carlo. So he thinks he's going to do pretty well on clay. Well, his draw isn't so bad. And you give anyone a shot against Sasha Zverev, he's having a bad enough day and throwing in enough double faults. Below that, the quadrant of Karen Khachanov and Roberto Bautista Agut. Nishikori's floating in there unseeded. Got a couple qualifiers in there. This Vilea Martinez guy, I believe he's been putting together some wins on clay recently. maybe in some, what do you call them, challengers. I was going to say futures challenger tournaments, I think, is the background on him. Some of these players, I haven't really seen anything going on with them. They're kind of more obscure players. But I do my best, if I haven't seen them lately, to look up what their results have been. I'd probably go with Roberto Bautista Agut to come out of here. Maybe Kachanov. Maybe Nishikori. We'll give him a little bit of a shot, but those are my favorites to come out of that little section. The Casper Ruud section below, he gets Benoit Paire up first. Pretty good draw. Benoit Paire has mostly been tanking matches this year, as you probably know. Potentially could face Kazaa. This guy Kazaa is an interesting young talent. He had a couple wins. He was the guy, you might have seen a highlight of him hitting a tweener about a week or two ago, that same tournament where Sinner lost to Rinder Kaneshi. Davidovich Fokina, Kukushkin, the Kushmeister, Hurkacz, who hasn't really done anything since winning the final in Miami. Van de Zandelschulper. Yeah, I've seen his name before. Can't tell you too much about that guy. I really like Casper Ruud to come through this section. I think this is his quarter, secretly, right? He's been training with Rafa. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier in the show, but he's been training with Rafa on the clay recently. I think they went fishing. They definitely went out and played some golf together. Apparently, Rafa's a great golfer, but apparently Casper Ruud's a really good golfer, too, and a fishing enthusiast as well. So they have a lot in common, also being, clay masters as well. Fonini. He's got a section here, too. This is Dominic Thiem's section. He's got another tough draw, kind of, for where he is right now. I like him to come through here a little, looking at Fonini as the big name in this section, but Fucsovics is tough. Delbonis, good on clay. I think Delbonis just got a win today. He's playing right now this week. Don't know if that'll help him too much. Obviously, Djokovic thinks it's good to play right before the major. I want to say the last time Djokovic played was, I want to say it was 2018, the last time I can remember him playing a small tournament the week leading into a major, going into Wimbledon. That, whatever that thing was where they had the granola bar as their sponsor, the Granola Bar Open. I think that was the last time Djokovic did this, or was that 2017 when he did that? I can't remember. Anyways, Delbonis is like Djokovic is playing right now. Dominic Thiem gets Pablo Andújar. I just want to highlight really quick for you, Andújar, who beat Federer, he's good on the clay. He's 35 years old. He's same age as Rafa, same age as me. Has 149 wins on the ATP Tour in his entire career. Guess how many of them are on clay? 109, right? So he does most of his winning on the clay, and Dominic Thiem gets him first. Normally, you would say Dominic Thiem's going to kill this guy, but considering what Thiem has been through, kind of a tricky draw to start off with. Delbonis, not your favorite person to run up against on the clay in the second round when you're trying to get things going. But other than that, this section isn't too bad until you get to Casper Ruud. I think if Casper Ruud and Dominic Thiem play, unless Dominic Thiem really starts finding himself, if he finds himself, I'm going to go with Casper Ruud boy for the win. All right, and then finally the Tsitsipas quarter. Now, the first draw we already talked about is a Jeremy Chardy. It's a little bit tough. Of course, you got to like Tsitsipas to come through, and then we're going to look at something Mats Wilander said about Tsitsipas, which is pretty interesting to me. Then he could play Seb Korda, who got a win today, is playing in the final of Parma, which is in Italy. It's maybe where Parmesan cheese comes from. What do I know? I'm not an expert on Italy. Seb Korda has got Martinez there, Krajinovic, Max Martyrer. Isner has to play Query up first. That kind of sucks for the American tennis fans out there. But other than the first round draw and potentially playing Sebastian Korda, I think Tsitsipas is looking good here. We go below that. Milos Raonic. This section, probably like Pablo Carreno Busta to come through there. Gerasimov, he gave Rafa a tough time, so he's had a little bit going for him. He beat Sasha Zverev on the clay. TFO, Stevie Johnson. Give Raonic a good shot to come out of there. Give him very little chance to beat. And this is an interesting thing. If we see Raonic Tsitsipas, which that'd be a round of 16, I think. The third round match would be Isner, possibly. So, or Query. It could be Maximilian Martyrer, Krajinovic, but let's go with Isner here. Isner, I think he likes playing on the clay. It gives him a little more time to use his forehand. If Tsitsipas gets Isner and then gets Raonic, that's always the perfect preparation. If you can beat Isner, you can beat Raonic. 2. Below that, Grigor Dimitrov, Marcus Giron. Give Giron a shot because Dimitrov has been... Although recently I saw Dimitrov win a match. I can't remember where. It was a couple weeks ago. But I was impressed to see, okay, Dimitrov looking like himself again, looking really good. But it doesn't last long with Grigor Dimitrov lately. He's really been struggling. Guido Pella. This guy, Daniel Alahi Galan. This guy has been pretty good on the clay, and I'm going to highlight again, the guy has 19 wins in his career, 12 on the clay. So this is a guy who's good on clay. Give Galan a shot to come out of there. Emil Ruud-Savory, I haven't seen him in a while. Don't know what he's been up to. Mackie McDonald came through qualies. You'll give him a shot here. I like Galan to come through this section. And then the bottom section of the Tsitsipas quarters will finish up our going through the draw, and then we'll talk a little bit about Djokovic and a couple other things, and we'll get out of here. Riley Opelka, he plays the guy that made Djokovic smash a racket today, right? This Martin. He's a Slovakian guy. Anyways, he's playing well. You know, he's ranked outside of the top 100, but he's strung some wins together on the clay. He's rallying great. Was able to stay consistent enough. The serve is kind of weak, but he's able to be consistent enough to trouble Djokovic today, and he was able to light it up and hit some winners, go for the shots at good times. And he looked pretty smart to me the way he was playing. So Riley Opelka, give him a shot to lose first round. Wouldn't be the first time he did it this year. Obviously, he did get some wins recently, but it's a little bit tough for him, I would say, because that's a guy who's going to be able to just lock into every rally. Munar, Spanish Jerry Seinfeld, and Jordan Thompson has been struggling. Tommy Paul, give him a shot there. And then Medvedev. Medvedev's got Bublik first. Bublik's not really crazy about the clay. Bublik could easily win that match, though. But let's say Medvedev does get his first win. I mean, he could come through this section. Tommy Paul could be tough, though, on the clay. Tommy Paul likes to play on clay, and he's not so afraid of top players when he's on the clay, you would think, especially against Medvedev. So if we were to get a winner out of here, I did skip over Christian Garin, probably the best player in this bottom part of this quarter on the clay, I would say. You could see... trying to figure out what the quarterfinal would be. It would be Tsitsipas out of the top half, and the bottom, wouldn't be surprised to see Galan, Christian Garin. I can't believe I skipped over his name like he was nothing. Wouldn't be surprised to see either of them. Maybe Riley Opelka, if he can play like he was before he ran into Rafa. Medvedev, it's probably unlikely to see Danny Medvedev, but give him a shot. I mean, there's no obvious danger here. Like Tommy Paul, a little dangerous, but still, like, Medvedev would beat him anywhere else in the world. Bublik, that's pretty dangerous for your first round, but if you can get through Bublik, I'll give Medvedev a chance, but Christian Garin or even this Daniel Alahi Galan guy could take him out. All right, a couple things on Djokovic. Just mentioned the guy, Martin. I just wanted to remind you all that earlier in the year, I wanted to play a clip for you from the tennis TV commentators. They were saying how Shapovalov almost beat Rafa. And there was all these headlines and news media outlets saying, Rafa's lost it. If he's struggling with Shapo, right, that's just terrible. But the tennis TV commentators were saying, made a great point, that the story should have been Shapo plays the best he's ever played in his life, has 2 match points, still loses to the king of clay, Rafa Nadal. And that's how I felt about Djokovic smashing his racket the first time this week, not the one from earlier today that we showed you earlier. He played this guy, Mats Moreg, not Mats Wilander. I can't remember his name because I've never seen the guy before. He's 253 in the world. He's a big, tall guy, big serve, and massive forehand and backhand. And this guy, he was a lucky loser. He'd already won a round as a lucky loser, getting back into the main draw. Gets to play Djokovic. Says that it's a dream come true playing the number 1 player in the world for him. And he just lets it rip the whole match, hits tons of winners. And, you got to think, it's kind of like the same thing with Rafa. Obviously, we know more about Shapovalov than this Mats guy. But Djokovic, never seen this guy before, didn't know anything about him. This guy's lighting up winners, like he's a well-established player on the tour, like he's Shapovalov, where he's crushing the ball. And Djokovic still finds a way to win. So for me, that's a win. That's good for Djokovic. That's the kind of match he needs to come through and experience before he goes on a Grand Slam run at the French Open this year. Today, a similar kind of match. A guy that this Martin guy, Slovakian guy, who do we just talk about is going to have to face him early on in the draw. Oh, Riley Opelka is going to have to play him first round. This guy put some wins together on the clay. He's playing great from the baseline. He's very consistent, able to hang with Djokovic on clay, and he's really picking the right times to go for his shots and light up some winners. A little too easy to break for Djokovic. I don't know if Riley Opelka will be able to break the guy as easily, but I understand it was different. When Matt's the big tall guy hitting all the winners, Djokovic smashes the racket. That makes a little more sense. Today, it was weird. Djokovic gets the set and the break. Wins the first set 6-1, gets the break, serving 4-3, I believe. And then all of a sudden, advantage Djokovic to go up 5-3 and put all the pressure on this dude. He hits the first serve. I think it was like 130 kilometers. I mean, that's nothing. It's like an 80-mile-an-hour first serve. Just starts missing shots, goes to net, misses a really easy ball, and it almost looked like he missed that because he couldn't believe he didn't put away the previous balls at net. He just totally lost focus. It was a really weird thing. So what Djokovic said after the match was, look, these are the kind of things that happens. What's important is that you figure it out and you come out on top of the match, and he sure did. He was able to fix it. This story here, I don't even know if I want to do it anymore, but this guy was an opinion piece in the Metro saying that basically the doubles players, they cut the money this year at the French by 10%. And a lot of it came from the doubles players. And the doubles players, I think if they lose first round, they get like $4,000. I mean, it's really low number for a Grand Slam. And I'm sure maybe some of them might be losing money on this deal. So they have good reason to be upset. This Metro piece was saying they should have a little perspective and feel lucky that they're playing during the pandemic. If they're losing money to go play at a major, I might have to side with them on that one. I'm not sure how it works out. But the biggest thing to me, I can't believe I'm doing this story about losers outside of the top 70 in singles and doubles players, which, come on, these guys should get a basic economics lesson. People don't watch tennis to watch doubles. Like 99% of tennis fans don't care about the doubles. So if the French Open, if Roland Garros has to, they don't have as much revenue coming in this year, they got to make some cuts somewhere. So, that's my main takeaway from it. But if those guys are actually going to lose money after all their expenses, you got to feel a little bad for them. Anyways, where is it? Marcus Daniel, he's playing in the doubles draw. He's on the player council, so he gets to hear the angry phone calls and text messages from his fellow doubles players. Couple things from him. There's quite a lot of frustration in doubles playing about Roland Garros right now. About the unilateral decisions they've made around distribution of money and date change has affected doubles a lot more than singles. We already earn far less than singles players. He said they earn about 10% of what singles players earn on tour on average, doubles versus singles. So yeah, it's a lot less money. It's 90% less if you're not a mathematician. Because of his role on the player council, he's hearing doubles players vent their rage. Quote, it's been a lot of work, probably too much work to keep full energy on the tennis court. Talking about his practice schedule, right? This is becoming too much of a hassle. That's why it's kind of smart advice to say, don't get on these player councils. Just focus on your own tennis, because this is a headache you don't need. It's all relative. The hotel compared to what a slam should offer is an absolute dump. Andy Murray's brother, Jamie Murray, tweeted out that it's a toilet. It's a dump. It's still a reasonable hotel by global standards, but for a major, it's a dump. The thing that's frustrating in my mind, though, and this to me makes me feel for these guys the most, because playing tennis myself, I can tell you that if you don't fuel properly, you feel terrible on the court. The food they provide is really subpar. When you've got a group of people, doubles players in the ATP Tour, who are trying to be the best athletes in the world in their sport, and you provide food like this, it's inexcusable. It's not just doubles players who are in this hotel with the bad food. It's singles players below rank 71 also. Basically, everyone Roland Garros doesn't care about, they put into this hotel, and they give them subpar food. It was kind of a similar situation at the Australian Open. I mean, they got to cut costs where they can. It's hard to figure out who's right and wrong in this situation because, like I said, they got to cut costs where they can just to put the tournament on. As a tennis fan, I'm grateful to the Roland Garros that they're putting it on at all. But The food thing, that is a sticking point. They got to figure out a way to give these guys better food to eat. I mean, I'm imagining like the continental breakfast you get at like a cheap hotel. You know, you get that free breakfast where really none of it's edible. Like you hope they got bananas because that's really the only thing, maybe a yogurt. So my advice to those guys is stick to the yogurt and the bananas. Anyways, Mats Wilander, he says, could leave Rafa lacking a little belief going into the French Open this year. That's the headline at tennisworldusa.org. Mats Wilander believes that Rafa and Novak are beginning to lose their grip. They're losing their grip on the sport in the face of the next gen's steady rise. Sasha Zverev says, don't call me next gen, by the way. He also reckons that some of the younger players could give them a difficult time in the early rounds of the French. Novak and Rafa look more vulnerable each year. You know, a lot of people say, yeah, we hear this every freaking year. But it does, you know, you do